What's going on, everybody? Time to have a cup of coffee. So that's what I'm going to do. It's kind of a day off, really. It's Memorial Day. I'm going to shoot a video for the big channel today. Ooh, that was hot. But other than that, going to chill. Going to chill and actually sort of have a holiday. So today we are going to talk about the tool guy. Not Tim, the tool man Taylor, but the tool guy. Before we get into that, for everybody who is expecting some sort of fully prepared, high production video on this channel, you're not going to see it. I have thoughts. I share them with you. I write a couple things down. Things I don't want to forget to talk about, but I don't really prepare these. This is just me and you hanging out, having a cup of coffee, talking about guitars. So if that offends you somehow, or you don't like the fact that I'm not fully flushed out on all my thoughts on this thing, or in a couple of days I have to update them, that's okay. That's on you. Of course, what we're going to talk about today is fancy guitars. And so there's going to be the guy who gets in the comments. We've all seen him, who thinks this is some sort of cope because I'm trying to compensate for go pound sand. It would be more productive. I like what I like, and I hope you like what you like. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So let's get into tools. So anytime this kind of happens, right? Anytime anybody shows some fancy expensive guitar, and I don't mean just expensive for the sake of being expensive. I mean, like, it's got a fancy top, it's got a bunch of inlays, it's got who knows what, it's bordering on art, right? Or it's got some features that are not necessary. That's not necessary for the tone. That has nothing to do with the tone. Okay. That guy shows up and he's my guitar is a tool. All I use it for is a tool, and I don't need all that fancy stuff on there, and guitars shouldn't be so expensive. And, there's that guy. Bro, it's just a tool. Okay. That's cool. There's that guy. I'm not that guy. I want more than just a tool because I'm not a tool. So here, and I say I'm not a tool, and the reason I say that is because I'm a human being. If all of us only cared about like utility, we would literally live in boxes. Everything is white, no pictures on the walls. We would all drive the same car. We would all wear the same clothes. It would be friggin' Star Trek. You know what I mean? We would eat protein paste. Everything would be the same color. It would just be, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about adding some personality to a thing that we enjoy. That's really all it is, right? But to respect that guy, who I am not, I get what he's saying, right? The tool guy's not wrong in the sense that any guitar can make music as long as it's functional. Like, you have a guitar-shaped thing that works and you can make music with it. Okay, cool. That's awesome. A Bic pen can write. Harbor Freight wrench can turn a bolt. You know what I mean? Functionality, sure, you can get the job done, right? That's what can happen. But most of us don't live in a world where everything we do is based on a minimum viable function to complete a task. That would just be so boring. And if that's you, that's okay. I'm just saying that you are in the minority, and you need to allow, if you're a nice person, now you might be a tool, And so go be a tool somewhere else. But if you are a nice person or attempting to be a nice person, you need to allow, or even if you want friends at the end of all this, then you need to allow for other people to want things that are other than you. I'm allowing for you to only want a tool. I think that's cool. I think it's great. I'm just not that person, and I want something a little more involved. Now, that even being said, the Harbor Freight thing. If a person is a professional, he's going to buy Snap-on. He's going to buy Matco. He's going to buy whatever, right? Well, I've watched the YouTube videos where they do the same tests and it's the blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Go down to your local Audi dealership, your local Ford dealership, your local Chevy dealership, and talk to the master mechanic at that place and find out if he's got Harbor Freight tools in his box. And talk to him about why. Okay, there's going to be a reliability component. There's going to be a serviceability component. There's going to be how many clicks per 360 degrees a ratchet is. There's going to be lots of things. There's going to be a lot of reasons where even when you only need a tool, you need some premium features, you need some premium service, you need some premium stuff there, right? That it goes beyond just being able to turn a wrench. That's a whole nother conversation, right? That we could get into stainless frets. We could get into more expensive pots, right? That's a function. That goes back to function. And that also goes back to serviceability. That goes back to reliability. That's not what we're talking about today, okay? So, but there is that. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation if you want to have that conversation. But what we're really talking about today is minimum viable function versus, which I believe is not enough, versus the fact that I've got a tool, yes, but I'm using it to make art. So I want my tool that I use to make art to reflect that. I want more. I want the object that I'm using to create, to inspire me to be creative. I want it to have some creative aspects about it and not just be a functional tool for the sake of functioning. Okay. So I want it to be fancy, I want a carved top. One of my guitars has a paisley top. I want pretty hardware on it. I want it to look how I want it to look. I want to be able to look at that guitar and be like, I chose that because the color, because the overall aesthetic of it. I may not choose a guitar because the jack is in a weird place or because who knows what. I may choose things. We have a whole kind of part of what we do at DylanTalksTone based around engraved hardware, based around all the custom pickup covers, all that kind of stuff. And the reason I do that is because I feel like nobody else does. I feel like everything is cream and white and black and plain, and I'm like, I want to inject some color into the business, and so that's what we're doing. And I want to inspire other people to have ideas, even if they don't like the colors that we're making. They might say, hey, what about this other color? Like, I want people to be inspired. I want people's tools, the tools that they use to create, I want them to be creative. Like, here's the thing. So if you have a Strat, let's say you have a black Strat with a white pickguard, and we have, and I'm not doing this to sell stuff here. I'm talking about the concept. And you see like a different color crazy pickguard, and you see now you're inspired. Now your tool that you're using, this black Strat with the white pickguard, now becomes something else because you made it into something else, and you're part of this creative process, and it's overall inspiring. And I think it's really cool. Same thing with handmade pickups. Some things make the guitar objectively better at producing notes, like a pickup, but also it should also broaden and richen the overall experience of ownership so that you are, in my opinion anyway, more inspired to play. Now, if you play in a cover band and you're just, playing Freebird every weekend and you just need a guitar, a black Strat, because it was a black Strat with a white pickguard that did that, right? I think. So, if that's all you need, then that's all you need. And you just need a tool to get through through the gig, that's fine. And there's a lot of people that are like that. I just need this guitar to play this gig, and I need this other guitar to play this other gig, and that's all it's for. But for the most of us who are hobby players, who play it because we love it, because we love guitars, because we choose these things, then we should put some time or I'm not saying we should, I'm saying I put some time and some effort into enjoying it. The other thing too, that I think about is, as you do this, as you are more creative with your instrument, and I don't mean playing, I mean actually the creation of the instrument, you probably will gain more respect for the process of creating said instrument. Okay, so if you buy a black Strat with a white pickguard on Amazon or on Sweetwater or on wherever, Guitar Center, and it shows up at your house in 2 days, that's just or that's a basic function. Nobody's buying a black Strat right now. I apologize. Schecter, whatever, it doesn't matter. Honestly, Harley Benton, Firefly, anything, doesn't matter. Who cares? It shows up at your house in a couple of days, and it's a factory product. It's a thing. It just does a thing. Okay, cool. The thing is that once you really understand, people will be like, there's no reason why this guitar should cost this much. Well, okay. Let's look at the machining operations to do a body with these particular features. Let's look at how much more time it takes to do that, even if it's with a CNC machine. Let's look at the finishing complexity. How many times does it need to be masked and unmasked? Let's look at and sanded and polished and all those various things. Have you ever bound a guitar? Have you ever put binding on a guitar? If you have not, you have no business complaining how expensive it is. It's very difficult to do. Hemispherical fret ends. I want stainless frets. Okay, cool. But you should understand the process and respect the process and understand how you should try it. Like, you should buy the tools and you should try it. When you have design iterations over years, and you have engineering, all these things, and these features that don't just jump on the guitar by themselves, right? Complex objects take more complex processes to create them. And what's really, really cool about that is, once you learn about that and appreciate that, not only, and this is not about saying, now you understand why the guitar costs so much. This is not that. This is literally having an appreciation for the art that is the instrument itself. And that hopefully will inspire you to create, right? To look at that thing and go, man, I have this thing, and all this work and all this time went into it. Super cool. And now you're like super inspired to play. And it's not just, it's not just a Craftsman pry bar in the bottom of your toolbox. You know what I mean? Like, there's some intrinsic value to it that makes you want to create something, which is really, really cool. The other thing that happens with that is the dedication of the maker and the story that they impart to the object. Okay, so when you start to understand the passion and the dedication, take Matt from Texas Toast Guitars. Okay, I could talk about myself with handmade pickups, doing it for 13 years, outlasting a whole bunch of other small pickup companies, etc., building this thing, all the work that's gone into it. I could talk about myself, of course, but let's not sell my stuff. Let's talk about somebody else. So Texas Toast Guitars, Matt, the iterations and the time and the dedication and the hours that he and Chris have gone into to create basically 3 models of guitars over the last decade that are incredible instruments. Um, and when you get to know them through their live streams and talking to them and etc., and buy a guitar from them, and or buy a guitar from me and have them build it, and understand this, like, understand this whole process and what really goes into it, um, then you really start to understand it. I have um, I have actually well, okay, I got a pocket knife in my pocket. So uh, if you know, you know, and if you don't, that's totally fine too. This is a Chris Reeve Umnumzon. Okay. I put off buying a Chris Reeve knife because they're not inexpensive. In fact, they're the opposite of that, for quite a long time, because I knew they were expensive, and it was kind of just over what I wanted to spend for essentially a tool, until I started watching a bunch of videos about the work and time and engineering and effort and precision, when the reason this knife is so good, the reason this feels the way it feels right here, right, this spot, the way this locks up, the way the lock face mount is machined, the bead blasting, the way this is the way this hollow ground is done on this blade, the process is so interesting to me, and it inspired me to buy the knife, and it's honestly my favorite knife I own now. So those are the kinds of things that I think about. This is not brand worship. This is not justifying anything. This is, I hope that you, as an artist or someone who is trying to create art and become an artist, if you're on this journey, that you are inspired by the tool, and that means that the tool needs to be inspiring. And if you're not, that's totally fine. And I totally agree that there are going to be people with just a big pen and they're just going to write, and it's totally cool. That's just not me. I'm just a different. My brain just works different. I want to see and know and appreciate and understand all these things that we just talked about. And of course, this isn't to say that every expensive thing is better, because not every expensive thing has this much dedication put into it. So you kind of have to. It's about the whole package, right? It's not just the price. It's not just the whatever. And of course, I'm not saying that you need this. I'm just saying that there are other personality types out there beyond the tool guy. And I'm just not that person. So I guess, let me ask you, who are you? Are you a tool guy? Are you somewhere in between? Are there certain things that it might not be guitars. You might have like the most basic black Strat with a white pickguard. And that's totally fine for guitars, but are you a firearms guy that has, some fancy custom rifle? Or are you have a fancy pocket knife? Or I don't know, maybe you're really into lawnmowers and you have like the baddest ass lawnmower, or your car, or whatever. There might be some other interest where you have applied this and understand it, and maybe you just don't care about the guitar. Maybe the guitar is just a tool, right? It might be something else. I don't know, but I'd like to hear about it because I think it's really interesting. Because I think what happens a lot of times is this crosses over into other areas of life. You know what I mean? And so I think it's neat. Anyway, thanks for hanging out.